Outside of Ravage, they really are dependent on Whitemon and Zephyr to find angles. If you don't start finding angles, the aggression doesn't come true. And that gives openings to Orca to play here.
Radiant have fortified this.
Outside of Ravage, they really are dependent on Whitemon and Zephyr to find angles. If you don't start finding angles, the aggression doesn't come true. And that gives openings to Orca to play here.
Radiant have fortified this. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Outside of Ravage, they really are dependent on Whitemon and Zephyr to find angles. If you don't start finding angles, the aggression doesn't come true. And that gives openings to Orca to play here.
Zephyr will try. Hang around for a time. Might get the shot.
Outside of Ravage, they really are dependent on Whitemon and Zephyr to find angles. If you don't start finding angles, the aggression doesn't come true. And that gives openings to Orca to play here.
Zephyr will try. Now we've got the H advantage on Orca. It's that early spike to the tier in comparison to
Outside of Ravage,
Gabby is working with the Scotty, but the staff from Avalon might not be enough to stay, especially with all the
There's a massive window here for Orca to just take objectives fast, take these team fights, lower cooldown on Arena in comparison to Ravage, so your presence from GY is much more consistent as well. And for T1, game plan now is to kind of shift gears, slow down the game, buy time for Gabby, maybe try to play around when Ravage is up, but beyond that, if you only kind of commit onto supports when you can catch them with Disruption and Arrow coming through. If you can't, you're just not looking for the kills.
Radiant are scanning for enemies. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire should look to their top tower. Radiant's bottom tower is in danger. Dire's top tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under
Oh,
Dire's top tower is under attack.
oh yeah, they managed to get the good save. They only trade away support, so it ends up being a support trade in the end. Doesn't feel too bad for Orca. T1 had to use Ravage in that engage. And as mentioned, when you're playing a Tide up against Mars, and that's your main source of team fight here for T1, your tempo with Tide is a lot slower. It's always going to be the massive cooldown. Orca's always going to be more active. They might catch VT faded out here though, but still fairly slippery. He's got his blink up. You don't have the stuns unless you land the Disruption Arrow. That's easier said than done up against something like TA. So Orca managing to just keep stalling out, keep building up. They do have a slight net worth lead. It's not massive by any means. T1 still has that scaling potential, but they've got to get that BKB on Gabby first before we can really stand and fight.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Is no more. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, it has a tough time scaling. Like, there's so many ways to build up in Viper. The build up here for Carl has been Travel, Shivas, and Hood, so he wants to be the tanky front line. I don't know if that's really necessary. It just feels like they lack maybe control maybe a Gleipnir or even just a Rod of Atos could have helped the cause here for T1 to keep someone pinned down, to give them another combination for the arrow. As I think that's what's cutting them off from these fights. They're just not getting that instant stun they need, which means that the side of Orca have always got multiple angles to take these fights. You know, they have multiple approaches to come in. Whereas for T1, it's almost always just going to be either Blink Ravage or Disruption into Arrow, and we just haven't seen enough of the Disruption Arrow this game. So I think that scaling on the Viper could have come in from just acting as a playmaker, and maybe again with an Atos up. There is presence for him. Like, you know, he's very tanky, he's hard to kill off with a Shivas up. You could work towards maybe the Ag Shard down line, it helps you with Siege, gives you some minus armor as well to help you burst through, say, the TA or the Mars. But it does start fading towards the late game, and that is of concern for T1. It's all going into the to the Gabby basket here, Mike.
A gift from the Tempest of Battle with you. Bounty!
Just stalling out a little bit more, really named the game for T1. They have managed to gap close that net worth lead of VT Faded, only 1,000 ahead on the TA. So Gabby's not feeling too bad. His BKB's almost done, as we've been talking about. Very important for him in the next few fights. And he's just going to go straight into the Silver Edge. So the issue now for Orca is, once that BKB ups in Gabby, they've got to be able to pull back very quickly, wait for the BKB to fade, and try to re-engage afterwards, because you are not going to be able to really handle TB with Metamorphosis unless they get a good jump in spear from GY. So I think the pressure is on for the Mars to get the angle. They will go smoke up here, but again, that's into that BKB pickup of Gabby. Could be a bit risky.
Dire are scanning for enemies.
What?
Killing spree! Feeling under the weather? Cast upon the tide!
You came too close to this
They can easily pressure the tower out. They've still got Lesh. Roshan's going to be up in half a minute as well, Mike. Not the best timing for T1. No Ravage on the respawn. It's a really big opening now for Orca in taking objectives and maybe pressuring that high ground. And we talked about it. Like, they managed to force Gabby to come in early while VT Faded wasn't around. He was forced to use Sunder very early on in that fight, forced to use the BKB, and that just opened up the aggression for Orca in the re-engage. Great saves coming through from Yif to ensure GY comes back for another day. Even the Yule's dodge out from Citrus, just giving them some opening there to dodge through the Ravage for the Lesh and make plays happen. T1's got to be a bit more cautious. Bye.